Today we have Praveen Sridhar from Freshworks. Before we go to the session, a very brief intro. We are Startup Grind, and we are a global community for entrepreneurs and startups, essentially, and one of the largest such communities across the globe, with about 3.5 million members in the community. So I run the Hyderabad chapter of Startup Grind, and along with my other colleagues, Revant and Yashwant. So we have been doing a lot of knowledge series on various topics around entrepreneurship and startups for the last 3 years, and this has been our almost third year, and so far we have had the pleasure of hosting a lot of great entrepreneurs and innovators and thought leaders and experts in their respective fields, and this is something different that we're doing this month. We started a SaaS series. Basically, it's a thought leader series on SaaS and everything about SaaS. SaaS, for those who probably are thinking what SaaS is, it's software as a service. We have a lot of now companies from India who are doing extremely well. Freshworks is one of the poster boys of the Indian SaaS ecosystem, so to speak, and we already hosted Nivas from Freshworks, who gave us a perspective of $0 marketing. Like a lot of startups actually want to really know how to do that, and it was an amazing session. And yesterday we hosted MartJack's Abhay Deshpande, who's an entrepreneur himself and sold MartJack, right? So let's get today's session started. Welcome to Fast Track 2020, Praveen. It's really great to have you. And so guys, Praveen heads the pre-sales at Freshworks, and he's also been an entrepreneur. He had his gig, and he's sort of an expert in pre-sales, and he's sort of the guru at Freshworks when it comes to pre-sales. So it's really nice to have you, Praveen, today.
Hey, hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Pleasure meeting you, Keshav.
So let's get this started, man. So a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs and founders, and especially the early stage startups, like who are in the very initial days, say 1 or 2 years into the company. Sales is something that runs, and it's like the oxygen, right? So everybody wants to sell something or the other. In fact, everybody sells something, whether they're founders or not. I think everybody sells something. You have to sell a lot of things sometimes. Every day, unknowingly you sell yourself to a lot of people. So when it comes to let's talk about the COVID times, and the last 6 to 7 months have been really unprecedented in terms of what happened. We all know that, right? And as marketeers or sales people, right? So we all want to know like how we can probably do remote sales, right? And now that it's become more like a necessity. So in that context, like just tell us like what your strategies are in terms of pre-sales, and just take us through like how you look at pre-sales.
Okay. So this is not about pre-sales or sales. Before that, thank you so much for that introduction. So couple of things. So let's not confuse with pre-sales or sales here, because when you're going to be a startup, you will not have that luxury of having different teams. So your CEO or the CTO or the CFO will take care of the marketing, will take care of the product development, will take care. We started as a 5-member team. Now we are with 3,000 plus people. So though we started with a 5-member team, we need to don a multiple hats, right? If you ask me, when you're going to be a startup, and that is exactly how a startup starts. You will not have luxury to have a pre-sales team. You will not have a luxury to have a marketing team, right? So you got to be ready for that, right? So when when it comes to pandemic, if you ask me, pandemic, yes, it would have hit the industries much worse. But there are certain industries which has seen limelight because of pandemic also. I think we got to start with that, because yes, we do have a great dent when it comes to the hospitality industry. You will see a great dent happening even for the automobile industry, because one of the latest stats says that there is around 70% dip when it comes to the automobile purchase, right? So yes, there are industries which are seeing a lot of dip which is happening. But on the flip side, you also see a lot of in these industries where you're able to see an accelerated growth. One best example
Right.
one best example is not only SaaS as such, but the digital platform on a whole. So the digital platform, if you ask me, should be around 2014-15. It started to boom, and it was actually getting ready not for this type of accelerated growth, but in 2021-22, if you see, you would have seen a growth come what may. Let it not be a pandemic which is hit now. Yeah, this is unprecedented. But you would have seen 2022, you would have seen such an accelerated growth happening, and the digital market was actually preparing for that. Right? Just that the acceleration of growth happened now from March, just because the pandemic hit and people were not able to get outside. Right? So one of the industries which has this is what G says, like one of like our CEO says, right? So there are three buckets to this pandemic, right? One is going to be the patient who's already been hit by the pandemic, right? And and two, you will see more like they are more like doctors, right? These are the people who give you solutions, and the actual solution is the product, which is your vaccine. So these are three buckets in which you would be able to put your industry into. So the first thought process is you got to understand which bucket you fall into. Are you into this vaccine? Are you into this doctors? Are you into this patients, right? And what worked well for Freshworks when it comes to a pandemic is we are based out of like it's a SaaS product, right? So if it is a SaaS product, we have been doing this inside selling model, and it's been a successful model with Freshworks for a long time now. Right? We started this in 2013 itself. So from 2013, 2012, 2013 itself. And if you see, the growth has been tremendous. We would have increased our market share, we would have increased our markets. But this inside sales model has been there for around 9-10 years now. And so that is exactly how it worked. So even before pandemic, we have been used to sell our products through telephone and by Zoom. So we are used to this, right? So what has worked well with us, which I think which should help people. I don't want to have a presentation per se for this, but yeah, this would actually help a lot of people who are trying to figure out what inside sales model is, right? Which is the model, if you ask me, going for at least for another 1.5 years. This is going to be the model. You can't go and sell them in your offices. It has to be through Zoom, and it has to be through teleconferencing. So if that's the case, I call this is a proven model for me, right? I call this as a safer model. Ironically, it has been called as safer, not because it's been connected to pandemic, but yeah, I call this as a safer model, and it starts like this, right? Safer is actually an acronym. So let me quickly go through this. It's not going to take much time, but after that, I think I would open this up for questions, and I would be more than happy to answer your questions, right? So the first part of the safer model is yes, which is you got to secure your customers, right? You got to understand which industry to target, which industry not to target. Any industry for that matter will see its high and low tides, right? So when you're going to secure your customer, first thing what you got to do is you got to target the industries properly. Meaning, if there is a worst hit industry in that point of time, doesn't mean that you cannot talk to them. It doesn't mean that you cannot build that rapport with them. You can still have that rapport running, right? I do have my customer base, which is with the online education, which is actually booming. I have my industry base with the healthcare industry, which is actually booming, right? But I do have my fair amount of share, my customers who are into this retail e-commerce, who are into travel and hospitality also, right? Doesn't mean that I'm not going to talk to them. It's not like, yeah, because that's why Freshdesk has a very famous motto, which is friends for life. So these are customers for life, and these customers, we see them as our friends. If that's the case, you can't just stop talking to them, right? It's not about business. You need not even talk about business to them, but keep that conversation going with these people. And if you ask me when the industry is going to bounce back, they might give you business or not, it's immaterial. But you have that rapport running with people. They can give you a lot of things. They might refer you to a lot of people, right? Most of these selling which we did are through references also. You make them happy, because in this industries which are the regions like ASEAN, right? They are strongly into, if you ask me, they're strongly into relationship building. Right? You got to have that relationship going, or else they're not even going to care about your product. So if that's the case, build that rapport with people who are in that worst hit industry, empathize with them, tell them, you know what, we are there to help you out. Just give that reassurance to them. And these least hit industries, who are into this insurance, hyper local deliveries, like you have Swiggy, you would be able to relate to them, right? Swiggy, Zomato, you would be able, these are hyper local deliveries, right? So these are people whom you can go and contact. With this slide, it doesn't mean that these are the only top 3 worst hit and least hit industries, right? Google is there, so you will be able to go and Google and see what it is. This is just to guide you on what exactly you got to do. The basic thing which as a startup we got to learn would be, don't stop your conversation or engagement with these customer bases where they actually see that lower end of the table, right? And this is the favorite part, right? There is a very famous quote which says, don't date your customer. So this is not that deep. So this is about customer profiling. This is from my 12 years of experience into customer facing roles, right? So I am a failed entrepreneur and I'm proud about it. So so I will tell you what exactly works. So this is DAT. It's been coined as date, but yeah, it is DAT. So these are set of customers and how you would be able to identify them, how you got to sell to them. Very simple. Right? The first bucket of people, I call them as drivers, right? You cannot Google about this, you're not going to get this, because this is something which has worked well for me. I have coined it so that it's easier for me to remember. So I call them as drivers. That's because you need to control the conversation and engagement with this customer. These are mostly into this impulsive buying set of customers, right? They don't listen to you. They'll say that I want this and I'm going to purchase it. The sales cycle is very, very less. You need not even push them, right? But these are impulsive customers whom you need to control the engagement. You got to tell them, you know what, you got to listen. And this is exactly how the engagement has to be. You got to gain that confidence from the customer and you got to sell this. So this is the first part, which is the drivers bucket. You can identify them with their poor listening skills. They are little outspoken and you got to control the engagement. Then comes the analyst part. People tell me, my team tells me that I am into this analyst part. Not because I ask a lot of questions, but yeah, this is into, they actually concentrate more on giving attention to detail, right? They have a planned approach, mostly into this project management sites, right? And you got to talk to them with data, or else you're not going to sell to these people. So this is the analyst category where their evaluation will be structured. They will be more into this project management side. So you can expect a larger life cycle or sales cycle with them, but it's worth it. I will tell you why. In the later slides, I will tell you who these analysts will turn into if they become your customer. Third part is the team worker, which is they have good listening skills, mostly into these ASEAN, and you will see a lot of this Northern Europe people, and mostly into South Africa, right? Where these people are mostly into relationship oriented, India as such. You need to explain everything to them. You got to be honest on what it is. And the selling is usually on personal relationship, what you're going to have with these customers, right? They don't expect you to talk business 24/7, right? The small talks helps here. You got to act as a consultant. What is acting as a consultant is very simple. Start talking their jargons. First success criteria for getting into heart of these people is simple. You got to talk to them not with your jargons, with their jargons, right? Rate per booking, they call it as RPB in hospitality industry, right? That will be one of their success metrics. You got to talk in a language to them. That's how they are going to understand. If you're going to talk about analytics, AI to them, they will not understand. Very simple. You got to make them understand by their jargons. So rate per booking is one of their metrics. So tell them that how rate per booking can be improved with zero marketing. They will hit that chord there, right? And the last one is the expressive part, which is mostly into the gray shade between DA, and T, right? These are confident people, and they are very responsive, if you ask me. But you got to talk about use cases to them, and you got to talk about the past experience from your customer base to them. And that is exactly how you're going to sell to these. So if you're going to start implementing this DAT in your business structure, right, you will be able to identify these buckets and you know how to sell to them. It is tough to start off with, but yeah, if you're going to follow this for around 6-7 months, obviously you will be able to quickly draw parallels. You will be able to quickly map them to either one of these buckets, and you will be able to take this forward. So this is how you're going to secure a customer. Now that you've got a customer there with you, right? So then comes the A part, which is how are they going to adopt SaaS? It's not about SaaS alone, right? This is for a platform as a service. This is for software as a service. This is for anything which is license based. This is service based. So adoption, very, very important. That's the key, if you ask me. Take the example. I take this example when I go and talk to colleges, right? Like when I do my guest lectures and personality development training, I usually ask this question, a very favorite question of mine. I ask them, how many of you have used MS Office, right? Even till now, till date, I learn a lot of things from MS Excel. I am too much into this Excel and PowerPoint presentations, right? I love them. But even now, I learn something new of MS Excel. It doesn't mean that I have not mastered the tool, but there is something new every time because it's huge, right? So adoption plays a very important role. So you got to understand what the customer needs, where they are bleeding when it comes to problem, and you got to create the desire, and that's how they're going to use it. Take this example of Ola for that matter, right? Or Uber for that matter, right? 15 years before, if you would have asked any of us in this room, right, in this virtual room, if you're going to ask them saying that you would be able to book a cab through a mobile app, people would have laughed at us. Because the maximum phone or the richest kid in the block would have had a Reliance 501 phone, right? You will not be able to do anything with that phone. But yeah, that's how it is. So you got to create that interest. That's a latent pain. We never thought that, yeah, it can be so easy. And we never had that as a pain point only. We just go to the road, end of the road, there will be an auto stand or a taxi stand where we go and get our cab or a auto. That's about it, as simple as that. But this model, like what Uber and Ola used, was they made you identify your latent pain. They made you identify why do you want to walk till your street end, when I'll be able to bring the cab or the auto, whatever you're asking for, near your doorstep, right? So that is latent pain. That is what awareness is about. That's how you're going to create awareness, right? And when you're going to create this desire and awareness for people, that's how you're going to adopt your product, and they become your champions. The analyst part, which I told you in the first slide, the analyst part are the ones where you're going to see a longer sales cycle, but they become the product champions. They will be the ones who's going to sell that product internally for you. So having that relationship with them is ideal. And you got to have your training material, which is self-explanatory. Then you got to familiarize things with your people. What is adoption? What is making it familiar with people, right? Adoption, yes. You're going to ask them, simple example, take an email. You can send an email and you can receive an email. That is adoption. But when you're going to give them all the options available in the product, you're going to make them familiar. You're going to make somebody who has not written an email to attach an inline image and send it to a customer. That is familiarization of your product, right? They will not know that you can attach tables and inline images to an email. But when you're going to familiarize it, that is how they're going to access it more. So familiarizing things and adoption are, they usually, if you ask me, they will be people will get confused with these two jargons, because adoption and the familiarizing with a product is almost the same, right? But they have their integrities to this. So customer forums is one very important thing. I think Nivas would have covered about it when it comes to $0 marketing, right? Forums can get your customers. Best example here would be, if you see, when there was an Aircel crash, right? Aircel went in bankruptcy, right? And at that time, you would have seen Airtel trying to tap that market. How did they tap it? One is through social media. Second, which a lot of people wouldn't have even known about it, is forums. When people were not able to log into their Airtel account, right? This was the basic question. 72% of the question asked how to log into Airtel accounts, right? And people opened up the forum part of it for these customers. So the existing customers were able to explain and resolve problems for the new customers. And that is exactly what forums can do. So these people become your advocates. They talk about customer advocacy. They talk about your product. They talk about how simple it is. But any whichever way, you got to have a moderator in between, but this works well, right? And very important part, then you got to expand with whatever products you have. This is a classic example of Freshdesk. So Freshdesk, we have this DNA, right? So for us, it's very simple. We go one step forward and one step behind for any product. I'll tell you what it is. Take an example of Freshdesk. I think a couple of people told in this room itself they have used Freshdesk, right? It's a customer engagement tool. But even before Freshdesk, what we thought was, okay, customer comes in and customers' queries are getting engaged, are getting resolved. But let's go one step behind. How are you going to even get this customer? That's when Freshsales was born, which is more of a CRM tool. That's one step behind, right? One step forward is, okay, you got a customer. How are you going to increase your adoption? That's when Freshsuccess, which is an adoption monitoring tool, which was born. Coming back to Freshsales, which was a CRM tool, then we went one step behind for that also. You're going to get your customers fine, but how are you going to get your customers? You got to do your A/B testing for your website. There was one customer who came and told me, you know what? Yeah, I get my customers, but I'm not able to. There is a lot of dropouts, customer or potential dropouts, which is happening. How am I going to solve this? Right? How can you solve a potential dropout from your website? There are quite a few ways of doing it, right? Freshmarketer helps you there. You would be able to funnel your entire page. You would be able to see where people click, what people click. There is a heat map which is getting generated. I'm not going to sell Freshworks suite of products here, but I'm saying that that is exactly what the DNA has to be. You got to go one step backward and one step forward. So once you go one step backward, you would be able to tell your customer, okay, this is the problem, your pricing. So that for that customer, the pricing page was in the fag end of the website where people don't even go and visit. A/B testing and funnel analysis, heat map generation helped us out there. So we were able to tell him that problem was your pricing page was in the fag end. We asked him to move it to the front and it worked. So expanding is very important, right? And how are we going to, so this is how an expand works and how are we going to retain your customers. So before getting into how you're going to retain your customers, let's go 10 years behind, right? If you want to take a photograph, right, you have a camera. If you want to listen to music, you would have had a music player, Sony again. Phone, yes, it's a very simple phone with a red and a green button where you answer your phone or disconnect your phone. That's it. Life was very simple with that, believe me. So, and then you had this GPS system for, you got to find your routes, you have your GPS system. But suddenly something happened. It's called as the iPhone moment, which G usually says, right? There was one device which brought everything together in one. Yeah, it was one device. It's an omni-channel approach. That is exactly what Freshworks does. It brings in all the products into one suite, where in one screen you'd be able to see a chat, call, like your marketing analysis, your sales analysis, and your customer engagement, which is an iPhone moment. But I'm not going to take that example. I'm going to take another example. How many of us in this room own an iPhone or an Apple product? maybe 50, 60 people, 60% of your people or 70% of your people. And you would have definitely had friends who are using iPhone products, right? So have you ever gone on a discussion or an argument with your people who are using Apple products and have you ever won the discussion with them or an argument with them? It's a little difficult. That's because they know how to retain customers. They create that ecosystem. You have your Apple phone, you have your laptop, you have your Apple Watch. Now they have come with a mini speaker of sorts. So what else, right? And you're not able to see a dip in their marketing at all, in your sales at all. So you create that ecosystem out of which they can't go. I will give you much more a simple local example, right? I think most of them are from Hyderabad and Chennai, right? So this is one example again which G gives, right? We are familiar with biryani, right? So
yeah,
obviously yes. So yeah, we are familiar
yeah.
with biryani. So we take that example of Talapakatti biryani, which is one of our food chains in deep interior Tamil Nadu, right? It is from Dindigul, right? And people, let me take an example from the local market itself. It's Paradise Biryani, right? So the crux is not about how they package it. The crux is not about how they tag it saying that it's the world's best biryani, right? The crux is the biryani by its own. It's about
absolutely. Yeah.
It's about the product.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Dindigul Talapakatti biryani did. How they were able to retain customers was by the product by its own, right? Believe me, I was in Hyderabad like maybe 3-4 years before, not 4 years, maybe 4-6 years before, for a assignment from my previous organization, and one of my uncle wanted a Paradise biryani. So I got to put I got to stop at Paradise Biryani, get that biryani, and then bring it in flight. Believe me, it was hot when it was served here. So there was flight, there was I had it in my hand luggage, but it was hot when it was served, right? It was not that. It was not about how you package, how you market. It's all the product. And to start off with, that is how you will be able to get more customers. The product has to sell by its own, right? So biryani is the best example, if you ask me. And that too at 7:30. I think biryani is a good topic to talk about. But yeah,
absolutely.
But yeah. So that is exactly what would work, if you ask me. The product has to work. For a startup, the product has to work. If you got to sell, follow the safer model. So the best part is retaining your customer, which is the first part. So though it has been called as a safer model, the last part is very, very important on how you're going to retain your customer. There are so many stats to this. One of the stats says it's easy, 72% easier to retain your customers, which a lot of us in the startup world will know, right? But how are you going to retain your customer? The product has to retain its customers. One. Second, your customer service should also retain your customers, right? I will take the example of Disney for that example, right? The front-end problem solvers in Disney have zero hierarchy, meaning they would be able to take decisions by their own. And that's why Disney is Disney, right? They don't have this model of, okay, let me check with my team leader, let me check with my team manager, let me check with my group lead. No. They decide what is right for the customer. That's Disney, right? So that works well. So customer experience, customer success, as well as the product is the key, if you ask me. Any product format. I'm not going to talk about a small box called a SaaS. I'm going to talk out of the box, right? So it's the entire gamut of products what you have. Let it be biryani, let it be even the decathlon cycles, which is very famous nowadays. Everything revolves around the product. The product is the key, which is the fulcrum, and then the spokes would be your product engineering. You will talk about your sales, marketing, pre-sales. All these are just spokes. The fulcrum will be your product. You've got to just understand that. That's it. I think I've taken more time for the first question itself, but yeah.
No, I think that is really absolutely bang on, right? It's all about the product at the end of the day. But let me ask you a little controversial or a little paradoxical question, because I'm also an entrepreneur, in the education field. A lot of times when we talk to fellow entrepreneurs, right, they end up saying things like it's not about the product, it's all about, they end up saying, no matter how shitty your product is, if you're a good sales guy, you can sell anything under the hood, right? So that's a I mean, while the product is the key, it is also a case where sometimes a lot of exceptional products don't get sold. You see a lot of mediocre products with a great kind of packaging sometimes get sold. In that context, right, I'm not a great fan of the Paradise Biryani at all, by the way, though it is somehow successfully got that, trust me, ask any Hyderabadi and they would not say Paradise, to be the favorite biryani. They would say Shadab or Shagaus. But you know what happens is,
I will tell you this.
Yeah.
I have spoken to a lot of these biryani lovers, right? And
yeah,
sorry to say this, but a lot of them are not fan of Paradise Biryani.
Absolutely. I mean, that is what brings me to the point, like, is it the product or the sales itself? Now, I think Paradise beautifully positioned itself like, the world's best biryani. They have it in their tag, but, all said and done, the native Hyderabadis who actually are like the biryani guys, at least they don't really like have it Paradise. So now this comes to the point where, the product is everything, but packaging also matters. And, talking about a little bit about Freshworks, I think you guys started, building that whole. I mean, you became a unicorn. I mean, full credit to that. One of the first Indian SaaS companies to become a unicorn in the league of Zoho, and of course, like very similar to a lot of very few companies are there in that league. So, how did you really manage to, always surprised by the kind of sale that you have done outside India, right? Yesterday, when I was talking to the founder of Martjack, Abhay was very clear. If you are in the segment of enterprise B2B sales, right? So he says, like, you always focus outside India because that's where, your market is. That's where, you get your value for money, value for innovation, value for the kind of product that you build. Now, in this context, again, let's get back to, the story of inside sales or sales, and let's get the perspective of, how do you sell products that are probably not great? Because at the end of the day, not everyone can make the greatest of the products, right? And a lot of products might be a little redundant. I mean, on and off, you might find one product really, having a great intellectual property or a completely out of the box value prop. So in the very initial days, I think a lot of people who are early stage entrepreneurs want to really understand this. So just walk us through, how is it to sell, right? At the end of the day.
Okay. So I'll answer this with, there are two things to this, right? The first part, I'm not going to quote Paradise again, but of Paradise, again, it's the product. I'll tell you why. Because maybe the hardcore biryani lovers wouldn't love the taste of it and wouldn't love the mix of it. Maybe the ingredients being used are not authentic biryani ingredients which has been used, right? But it has its own fan base. People who love that biryani still love that biryani, right? So again, product plays a very important role there, because obviously it is they are relishing the product. Okay, but let's take this example of see, any product for that matter, for the CEO, the CTO, it's their baby, right? It's their baby, and so they will not say that it is not a good product. But when it comes to market, that's why I said there are two things which will definitely work for you. One is your product, which will solve a lot of these desiring problems or hidden problems for your customers, and you got to target that. Because without what am I even going to do with a clicker? Just a clicker. It is not being connected to anything. What will I even do with a clicker, right? So the way they marketed clicker was, you need not do anything. It just, it just helps you to bust your stress, right?
Yeah.
So it can be that lame. I'm not saying that the product is lame. The engineering is so much into a clicker, right? But there will be a point where you cannot get frustrated about your product not selling, right? This is a best example. I'll tell you a best example from a YouTube video. Yeah. So there was, I don't want to name the artist. I don't want to name the YouTube video also. The YouTube video was hosted, or it was uploaded in 2010, but it got viral in 2018-19. 2010 to 2018, number of views was around 1 lakh people maximum. Yeah. And then from 1 lakh to 3 million, 4 million, it was almost in a month they were able to hit it, right? So people find value about your product. Maybe a YouTube video is not a great example, but people might find value about your product and it gets viral and you don't know when. So my advice to any of the startup people would be the CTOs, CEOs, any of the CXOs would be, the founders would be, don't lose hope about your product. It's a cliche dialogue, but yeah, you can't lose hope about your product because you don't know when it is going to fire. We never thought that online education industry would fire so much in 2018, 19, and 20, right? Explain Byju's. Explain, it happened. Yeah, so they were one of the competitors for this time's IPL, right? And explain this. I will go into, this is classic example, right? I would go into Citibank.online payment. I pay my credit card bill. I get into HDFC, 2-3 clicks, I will be able to pay my bill. Why should I even use credit? Right? Credit again an iPhone moment where in one page, in one app, you would be able to pay a lot of these bills together. The best part about is not about payment. I'll tell you what worked well for me when it comes to credit. I think a lot of people would relate to this. I miss a lot of deadlines when it comes to bills.
Yeah, absolutely. The due dates, right? So it's due in so date. Yeah,
it gives you a reminder. It's getting integrated with WhatsApp. In WhatsApp, it tells you that it is going to get over in 2-3 days. Then there is one where it generates a link for you from where on you would be able to pay it in one stop. You would be able to tie this up with an UPI app so that you would be able to just punch in your PIN number and it works, right? That is credit. That is a big success, and today they are one of the major sponsors of IPL, right? So we wouldn't have even
imagined this, right?
It's magic now. First time when I wanted to try cred, I think it was when I was coming back from Singapore. One of my sales people told me, like, you know what, this is in beta. Do you want to use and see?
Right.
And now
this is last year, I guess.
Yeah, 2018, 19. 2019. If you ask me, see the growth, right?
Absolutely.
They had that conviction on their product, and it worked. Again, a SaaS based model. So any product for that matter, right? I don't know if you know about this. The story behind you would have seen this smiley balls, right? Which is typical yellow in color with a smiley in. So the patent is still with a small company in Finland, right? And nobody knows about it, right? But it's a hit. You see a lot of people using this smiley balls, and off late I see that even my son is fascinated towards that smiley ball. I don't know. Yeah, obviously with LKGs and UKGs happening in India, it is equally stressful at what we do. So I understand that. But that works, right? It's a simple product. And you never be able to prove whether it is actually reducing your stress. You don't know. Right?
Right. Yeah.
By peer pressure, you will be able to see a boom in your product. Second, people will find real value when there is a need. When there is a bleeding problem, we'll definitely find products. Keep it, right? Online examinations. We are not doing online examinations to the fullest in India. I was part of that industry. I was part of that product development, right?
Yeah.
Slowly we started doing it, and now RRB, which is Railway Recruitment Board exam, is happening online.
Right.
Right.
Which is such a
last time when I remember, right, when I was part of that organization, when I conducted that exam, you know how many people wrote it? It was around 1.5 crore people who wrote it. It's a world record.
Wow.
Simultaneously, there were around 30-40 lakh people writing the exam. Right? We got to. So it's about preparation. You prepare your product. You start working. You invest so much in your product development. Keep them ready. And while the time, it's more like you got to make hay while the sun shines, right? So you got to wait for the right time to come in and then flip. It works. So marketing is important. So I'll tell you, this is more like an egg and a chicken concept, right? Which comes first, which is more valuable. So I'll tell you this: it is valuable. You got to have a product and you got to have your strong marketing skills, right? And that marketing skills, I don't talk about the marketing people, right?
Right.
Marketing
Yeah.
can be anything. This marketing can be people who are using it. It's word of mouth. It's forums,
Yeah.
right? These are places where it's
Mhm.
going to help you, and that is going to take you through places.
Absolutely. I think, while, product again is everything, right? So I think a lot of times we talk about product marketing these days has become pretty much like a used word, because previously, I mean, marketing was just marketing of the brand or positioning and, marketing strategy, but now it's all about, it's SaaS or, any software, typically, even if it's a consumer product, it's all about that positioning. I think Kunal Shah typically is, after the Fridge stint, he's like a guru of somehow getting, the right marketing, the right positioning, and, everything around cred. I think so. One thing we also have to give credit is the user experience, right?
Yes.
So because ultimately it's not the typical, the value, but the very subtle things that really make you addicted to it, right? I think there is ingrained in the way the product is built itself. So I think a lot of folks, right, I think who are into product management, so it's a continuous loop where, the sales, you need to get the ears of the market, you need to understand the personas of users, and then get back, to your product dev team and then sit with them. So it's always that, that loop of continuous feedback in the initial days.
Yeah.
At least till, you get to that very, very, the product market fit, as they call it, right? And once that happens, then you certainly unlock, pot of gold, as Kunal Shah says, right? Then you've created that exponential value of 4x or 5x, which people will ultimately get glued to, right? I mean, and most of these are, I think, Freshworks also initially, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you guys gave a lot of free, it was not paid. In the very initial days, I think there was a freemium model, right?
Even
Uh,
we have a premium model.
Even now, right? Even now you do. I mean, the kind of stuff now is a little more. Initially, I think it was more the way you probably would have positioned a market in terms of getting like more customers for obvious reasons, and then slowly, I think you get an understanding of what people pay you for in terms of the value, and then naturally, you understand the market much better.
People need to understand the taste of it, right? They need to experience it even before they purchase it, right? So let it be any market for that matter.
Right, right.
You got to give the taste of it. The samples works. You got to give that sample, understand what people think. It's more like a focus group interview, right? That's how Decathlon. I never expected Decathlon to be such a hit here, right? In India, Decathlon is a hit, right? And that's because you would be able to experience it. If it's a cycle, you would be able to drive it around the track and see how it works, right? If it's a table tennis court, you will be able to play the table tennis board and see how it works, right? So you got to give them the experience to get that customer base.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let us, get into, one of the probably the harder or challenging aspects when it comes to, a typical sales. You have a top-down and a bottom-up approach, right, of sales, and usually the top-down is considered to be more preferred because it's all influential kind of marketing or influential kind of sales where you consult them, you do consultative sales, you kind of prescribe and you tell them, what probably works at a higher level, right? But on contrary to that, I think, it's heard that, bottom up approach also is more effective when it comes to, at least pre-sale. So just talk about that. What do you think about that?
Okay, again, so it's not about pre-sale sales. So I'll tell you, this is like I think it's around 7:50 and people would love hearing the stories, right? So this is one of the stories, and I'll tell you where it happened. This is I just went to South Africa for one of my customer meetings. This is one of the huge customers whom we have with Freshworks, right? So we went there, and what worked well for us was to initially get into that office. It was top down because people need to give you approvals, right? They need to create that list. But when we went in we went in at 10 o'clock. The meeting started because we had everything prepared. We had our presentations. We know what to talk, who to give the baton to and how this is going to happen. All this is prepared. We went in, this is a huge customer. We went in and we started talking about this. 10 o'clock it started, 10:02 it went on well, 10:08 there was one leader, the leadership team, one of the leaders from the management team who just stood up from his place and said, these are people who are, they are very, very honest and they are brutally honest. So mostly in South Africa, right? So they said like, you know what, this product will not work for me, and just left the place. He said that it will not work for me and just left the place. It's at 10:08. So we had a plan of 20 days workshop with them. And the first 8th minute, you're getting this type of a feedback from one of the leaders who's very influential there. Yeah, everything crashed for us. So it's like more like an Indian movie, right? Where you see that your the flying crows will stop, the waves will stop. We were like stunned. We were like, what are we going to do? Because it's like 20 days. And I even called my travel team and told me it's not going to work. I'm going to return back tomorrow only. Yeah, because it crashed. But then we need to roll up our sleeves. The sales and pre-sales, we decided that we're going to roll up our sleeves. We wanted to give them that confidence that we are real consultants. We don't want to sell anything to these people. So we just rolled up our sleeves. We said like, okay, fine, you need not purchase our products, but we have experience in this industry. We want to understand your customer engagement model. We want to understand how your chat, email, social team works. We were able to identify pain points, minimum of 75 pain points in each and every department. The chat team was bleeding, meaning the chat team, this is an example, typical day of a chat agent, right? They get on a call, they get on a chat, the chat comes in, he says that, or he or she says that, I'm not able to log in. Then they say, this is the button you need to press. Then they say, I don't know where the button is. Then they take a screenshot, send it to them. They say, no, it's not working again. Then they mark the screenshot and send it to them. They say, you know what, it's not working, I'm going to go out of your service. Then they get on a call, make them understand where the button is, make them press, and it works. It's a typical login problem, and it gets resolved in 12 minutes, typically. Which the chat gets to call, which is really not needed. So we just gave them an offer saying that, you know what, you can use this. This is where the sample comes in place. We told them that you use this product and see, where you would be able to share the screen, talk to the customer on the same chat window. You would be able to take control over their screen and tell them where it is, which is their pain point, which is bleeding. We told them that it works. It worked, right? We gave small advices to these agents and these team leads, floor managers. We came out, gave that system for 2 days. We came out. We were talking about other engagement with other customers. We came back to this customer and we said, okay, we are going to wrap it, but these are the presentation. These are the findings what we had. See how you can improve this on your part. We don't want to sell your products. We're leaving. We had a coffee at that time. It's a break. We had a coffee. We were having a small talk with the CEO of the company. This floor manager from the chat department runs and comes and says, you know what, you need not purchase anything with Freshworks. We are fine with it. I was taken aback. I was like a little shocked. I was like, why? Why are you so angry with us? And they were like, the next sentence was the powerful sentence. She said, her name is Notlandna, if I'm able to pronounce it properly. She said, I can remember her name till now. She said, I don't want you to buy Freshworks product, but if you can get me Freshchat, that's enough. Which is like 250 agents, right? And the email team comes and says, you know what, I want to go live today, because they have seen value from their agents. Their agents have told that this helps a lot, right? So the bottom-up approach also worked because the CEOs are able to hear to these pain points, see a visible change happening, and we went live in 2 days. The engagement, we should have been just a POC, a proof of concept is the idea what we had in mind when we went there. But in 2 days, the CEO wanted to go live. That's because we just sent 48 hours for them to use our product, understand the value, one. Second, we never turned back. We just said, okay, we want to give you this consultative approach. We just wanted to give you that advice, and we came out. Boom, it worked. Right?
Yeah.
Times, if the top-down approach doesn't work, if possible, build that rapport, get that access to their agents, make them understand the value, and they would talk for you. The customer, the product advocates would be them. They will go and talk to them, and that magic would happen.
Absolutely, yeah. I think all said and done. I think building that relationships is everything, right? I think that classic example of that lady just asking for fresh chat, not any other product is just yeah. So let's get into there is one question. I think let's get into the Q&A.
Perfect.
So I think let's open it up for people. I think yeah, let's I'll first take the question that Jagdish has. Hi Jagdish. Jagdish is asking us. I mean, he has a context to it. So hi Praveen and Kashyap. In this competitive market, there are many products that serve the common purpose, but how can you project your product is better than others? Like in the in context, he says, for example, if my product is Ola or Uber, it's already kind of in the market if you're, probably a Me Too model.
Yeah.
And when I, go to one user who already uses Uber and then asked to use Ola, then he says, I'm using Uber. Why should I use Ola if I, have this app serving a purpose? So how do you convince him to use Ola, or whatever product that is basically? So basically, it's a Me Too model kind of a thing. How do you really get into market? Like, how do you do the go-to market for a Me Too product? That's his question, I guess.
Okay, I'll tell you this. So there are two things to this, right? One, you need to decide when you're going to enter a market. You got to understand and decide whether you got to be a differentiator or a disruptor, right? Disruptors are mostly into people who have innovative products, which is mostly, at least till the launch and for people to settle, it will mostly be a monopolistic market, right? But when it comes to differentiators, which is us, even we face it now. We see customer engagement suites being given for $2, right? So one differentiator between us, and we do lose our customers to these competitors, which is being honest, right? How are we even losing it is because of the cost. So it can be three ways in which you can differentiate your product, which will resonate well with your customers, right? One is on the costing part. But I would say that if you're really, really sure about your product, if you know about your product, if you're confident about your product, don't hit that chord so easily. Don't try to reduce the cost, because that will definitely give a psychological feeling to your customer saying that, okay, it's very cheap. Doesn't mean that the quality is not there, right? So if it is a premium model, if it's a premium product, have a premium rate, right? But try to differentiate with pricing, meaning you can give them trial, you will be able to extend their trial for a bit, you'll be able to give more customer handholding services for them. So one is cost, right? Second is the customer service, what you're going to provide, right? Classic example is I cannot quote brand names here, but there is an internet provider in I think it's all over India. But when the floods happened, right? Chennai floods happened in 2015. They were not able to support all their customers. They said, "It's fine, you leave us." That's not a customer experience, right? Customer experience is what BSNL did at that time, right? They were able to hear to the customer voices. They were able to give that extended operational benefits to their people, even during the floods which happened in Chennai. So what happens is customer service plays a very important role where you can differentiate and show yourself. One, as I told you, the costing. Third very important thing which can help you out would be the UX part, which is the user experience part, right? If your competitor is able to, if it's a SaaS model, if your competitor is able to do that in 3 clicks, you're going to reduce it to 1. You're going to save 2 clicks for a user for one time, right? So you can multiply and see how the effect is going to be. So that's one example. But user experience, costing, customer experience are the basic ones where you would be able to differentiate yourself when it comes to handling Me Too products.
Right. Yeah, I think there's one more question around the top down and bottom up. I didn't ask this question. So how does it work when all the stakeholders are aware of the product? So let's say there's an ERP for that matter, which is like a medicine rather than a vitamin. So So in that case, like how does basically the top down or bottom up work, you know, when everybody knows about the product?
Okay, I'll tell you this. So the bottom up doesn't work always, right? The bottom up works in industries where you would be able to create that impact to the users. Maybe an ITIL tool, which is again a vitamin, it's not a medicine, at least in India. The thought process here is, why should we even waste our money in licenses for an ITIL tool or anything which is internal? ERP is again an internal tool, right? It is going to be tough when it comes to the internal tools when you're going to do this bottom up approach, because you'll not be able to, because the mindset has to change in regions, right? So you got to, so now the paradigm is actually shifting from from CX to EX, right? The customer experience is not the key. The employee experience is equally the key, if you ask me. EX is equal to CX is the jargon, is the mantra if you're going to take this forward, right? So you got to, in these industries like ERP, you got to go top down only. But even then, if you're going to build that confidence with the influencers, you would be able to go bottom up there. But that doesn't work in most of the cases when it comes to internal tools. But a good question. Cool. I think we have opened up the presenter access for everybody, so people can unmute yourself and ask questions.
Hi, this is Amarnath.
Yeah, Amarnath.
Yeah. I'm building one of the SaaS product. So I know my competitors, and they're giving the same product with the same features. Most of the things are same. That costing is around $39 per month or something. So if I want to give the same thing at $9 also, it is profitable for me. So just because of the money, people come to my product.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
So
all. I mean, $9 is my pricing point. $9 is my pricing point. Just because of that reason, people tend, because of pricing issue, they just come to my product. That is one. And the second thing is, there is no specific thing in India right now. So how to target the Indian scenario, I mean Indian customers? Why? Because for $9, it is a huge thing, and most of the people are not using that because of $9. So can I make it like 750, like 400 rupees for Indian customers and $9 for outside of India customers?
Okay, a couple of things. What product are you selling, Amana, if I can ask you that question?
Okay, it's an analytical tool. Analytics, it's a combination of adding, yeah.
Cool. Okay. Anything with analytics, so it should have that premium value to it, because analytics is going to be, see, it's okay to have it as $9, $10. It's completely fine. But we are going to give the same feature set what your competitor is giving. I would recommend you to start increasing the feature set, meaning your USP can't be the same. It's a USP, right? It's a unique selling point, so it can't be as similar to as a competitor. So try to bring in more feature sets which is making you the differentiator. One. Second, increase your price. It's okay if it is not $9, but what would happen is you hit the right chord, but in a different way. I'll tell you this. It's okay for an Indian market if you're going to say it's $10, which is 720, 800 rupees, right? But try to list your price as local currency, in local currencies. When you're going to be in South Africa or rest of Africa regions, make it as RAD, right? If it's Australian currency, use Australian currency. If it's Great Britain pounds, if it is euros, use the local currency so that people will be able to relate better. I will tell you why, right? Indian psychology, even if you're going to travel abroad, right?
Yeah.
Immediately, if you're going to order, let's say, any food for that matter, right? Believe me, we would have done this. We would have immediately multiplied the dollar value by the equivalent rupee value and see how much it is. You would have purchased it. That's a different point. But that satisfaction, what we have, right? So we would be like, let me multiply this by 73 and see how much is it in Indian rupee. So psychology. So have your pricing in local currency so that people will be able to relate to that and they will be able to spend that money. People are not there to bargain nowadays when it comes to analytics at least, but they want to relate to the pricing. So have it as 800, 720 rupees, but have it in local currency so people will be able to relate it better.
Okay, thank you.
We have like more questions. So we have like Arpit here. Arpit is asking, hi Praveen, thanks for the wonderful presentation. I want to expand our business internationally, and it would be great if you can share some quick insights on how to get leads and contacts internationally. So leads and contacts are two different things. So
yeah. Yes. So that's exactly what I want to say. So leads and contacts are completely different. So your leads may be your contacts, but doesn't mean that the corollary doesn't work. The contacts need not be your leads, right? So they need not even be the ones who are going to give you market. But I think again, you have to hit the right card where build contacts. Even when it comes to international market, maybe resellers can help you. One, where you're not able to go and visit them in person, the resellers can help you. They come in handy. Definitely there will be a price tag attached to it, but it works. Second, the best part about this is just open it in the market. So now see, this is actually working, right? We have been taking calls, we have been working remote. So people are okay to even come and explore about things from it. If your product is going to be a SaaS-based product or anything on internet, you would be able to sell that to any market. Our first customer was from Australia. So it was back then in 2010, 2011. Right? It was a college. Right? So you would be able to sell that across barriers, frontiers. But very simple way of doing this would be get the resellers who know the market. You need not give the business to them. At least have that conversation up and running. These are the contacts, as I'm telling you. You have a lot of these forums, these communities where you would be able to go and be part of it. There are a lot of these collective forums and communities, right? You can be part of it, build contacts, understand what works well for them, and then they would be able to give you some references. References are the only way you'd be able to do international business. When you're going to be stationed in India, and then if you want to do business, resellers, contacts, references, and word of mouth will help you.
Yeah. I think we had a similar question the other day from Leela Saidev. I think he heads the sales for a startup called Creo. They're in the I think the preschool or daycare management SaaS kind of software. In fact, we're going to host Creo's founder on 21st this month. So we have Leela Saidev, who actually had a similar question, like very specific to, they already have like business in 60 countries, I guess.
Wow.
And they want to further kind of, expand. And it's a very interesting story of theirs. I think, the way they actually expanded, I think it's just 3 years old company. And they already kind of have presence in, I think, 60 plus countries. So Leela Saidev, are you there? Like, maybe if you can say hi. We had a similar question. So
yeah, Kashyap, I'm here. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Yes. Hi, Praveen. That was a great session here. So one bottleneck that we feel during international sales, even now, though we are present in like 9 exact, but most of these sales that we get are from USA, UK, Canada. So how do we tap into the other markets? Do we work on the pricing a bit better? Do we offer discounts? That is the usual thing that everyone does. Is there anything else that we can do additionally?
Okay. Again, I think this was my previous answer also, right? When it comes to market like Japan, China, ASEAN, so Southeast Asian countries, APAC for that matter, Australia, right? These are highly contact driven and relationship driven, right? One, you got there to talk to them about your product, you got to sell them, And before even you start selling them, you got to have at least 7-8 months of contacts being built with them, rapport being built with them. And for that, I think resellers help you a lot. I'll tell you a classic example. Even now, though we have been having our presence in more than 150 countries, one of the huge deals which we won, or one of our customers which we have won, like the customer which I was talking about from South Africa, the contact was from the reseller, right?
Right.
And you will not even believe how the reseller had a contact with the CEO of this company, right? They went to school together,
Okay. Okay.
right? That is exactly how we got that contact, and that's the huge, that's one of the highest paying customers whom we have across the globe. So resellers play a very, very important role. They give you a lot of contact because they know the local market, right? But
Right.
if you're going to be on a SaaS or anything on internet, you would not be able to play more with the pricing because it's transparent, right? So people will be able to, these are very smart people, customers, right? So they will be able to go and compare their cost with other regions and see, okay, I can understand that your cost is little different when it comes to India. Can I pay you in INR? I've
Right.
seen customers, though we don't have much of difference between our currencies, people go calculate it even for that $1, $2, £2, and they come back to us saying that, you know what, little different, do you want me to pay in that currency? So
So
we will not, yeah, please go ahead.
So the other issue here being, because we have a free version, forever free version, where they can use 5 slots forever. Most of them are limiting their subscription till there only. Like they're not taking. So how do you push them to that bracket of paying customers internationally? Like the Indian customers, we've handled them, but the international part, how do we push them to pay? Apart from US,
Very
UK, and
simple.
Canada, if you can check.
Peer pressure. Very simple. Peer pressure, right? So there are two things. One, in an ideal scenario, you will not be able to push customers much, right? If you have decided that they will be on your free plan, then the best part about this would be there are two things. One, you can release a free plan with restricted feature sets, and first you got to get them secure. That's what I told you, right? The safer model part.
Right.
You got to secure that customer. So bring that customer in. Let them be a free customer for you.
Okay.
Let them use, or let him or her use your tool for 1 year free of cost. It's fine. That's an investment what you're doing. And then once you get them, there is no looking back. Once they started using it, if it's going to be a big industry which is going to go for growth, they will not dump you, if you ask me. And if it's going to be free of cost, and that's why we have a plan called a Sprout plan in all our products.
Yes. We actually use Freshcaller and Freshchat. We use Freshcaller for the international sales, and we're having a very good experience there. So thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll pass this on to my product team. But yeah, so that's how it works. The free licenses would work. They get the taste of your product, right? And they will not go back. And second, building relationship in these markets will
Sure.
help.
Thank you, Praveen. Thank you very much.
Wow. So I think let's take like one last question. Probably it's 8:12 right now. So if you have time, like we'll take one more question. So guys, any other questions? Anybody? Jagdish, Arpit also asked. Fayaz. We have like. Okay, we have Namita also. Sahil. I think that's it probably.
Cool.
So once again, thanks, Praveen. I think it was quite a candid, very crisp, and I think very, very simple, but very. I would say this is all that counts in the strategy part of sales as such. So it was very insightful, and the biryani, especially the biryani example, and the product being everything, right? If you have a nice product, I think that solves a lot of problems. I think user-centric approach to building products and the user experience of the product itself, I think sells. So that is really kind of the takeaways for me. So thank you so much. I think it was a very great session. So
thank you so much. Great meeting you guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, man. So, guys, I think if you want to stay for any networking, if you want to introduce yourself to our community, feel free to stay back. If you have anybody, wanting to introduce themselves to our community, they're a startup or, trying to start one. So, feel free to, introduce yourself.